All right. So we are live now. All right. This is going up on the Weekly Huddle YouTube channel, and it will be posted later on. So if anyone watches this post, us being live right now, it will go up on the Take the Charge YouTube channel as a YouTube video. But for right now, we're here talking about the pregame for Game 1 of the NBA Finals between OKC Thunder and the Indiana Pacers. I almost forgot who came out of the East because I've been so just it's been the OKC Thunder for me since they beat Denver. Because anyway, I'm
Fuck
here
Denver.
with fuck the Knicks. You know what?
No, I'm saying
Just for
fuck
you.
Denver because I had them winning the title. Fuck y'all. Y'all lost in the game 7. Niggas suck butt.
I am currently here with Tobias Gale. We are going to be doing hopefully more of these from going forward, but right now we just wanted to hop on and talk some ball because you know what? Especially after this morning when I ran into that one dude who it's the whole situation of there's just guys on here who come on and yap and they don't know what they're talking about, and it's like I could do that, no problem, because people just have terrible takes. So we thought, why not?
Literally.
We can have terrible takes too.
Man, what?
But
I can
so
say
yeah,
random shit for an hour. Go ahead.
Toby's a Knicks fan. I'm a Nuggets fan, so we both have very not interested in the two teams playing right now. How I didn't even get to talk to you about when the Knicks got eliminated. So how did that happen, and what how would you feel about that with how the Pacers are performing right now?
If I'm being honest with you, when we beat Boston, I was expecting to lose to Indiana only because we built a team to beat Boston and we achieved that goal. And the biggest limit on our team, other than the fact that we have two non-huge defensive factors on the court and Brunson and Cat, and they have to play because they're our best two offensive best players. Other than that, we have a depth problem. Tibbs plays freaking 7 guys. That's why I was so
Yeah,
happy when they freaking let go of Tibbs. Man,
yeah. I was never a big fan of Tim, especially because how short he runs the bench. Like I don't know much about basketball, but the fact that they only read from what I've watched, because I've only been watching for like 5 years, and whenever Denver would go super short on their bench, it would always be that was always like the problem was they never had enough energy coming off of it. They always if you go too short, you run the guys too much. At that point, that's where it was always an issue. And for every time I watched the Knicks, it's like they'd play 6 guys, even like when it wasn't a dire Game 7 playoff game. They'd have dudes playing every minute of the goddamn game without taking any rest. And that was just whenever the memes came out about it. I was like, oh, that's just Tibbs. That's just Tibbs being Tibbs. So I think it was a good move.
Mikal Bridges
I
has not missed a game since high school. I'm 95% sure that Coach Tom Thibodeau saw that as a challenge. Because when you have a man in the regular season complaining, like, Coach, we're playing too many minutes. And he's just like, well, you got to guard Jaylen Brown and Jalen Tatum. They got to match the minutes. I'm like, so why even have Precious Achua and PJ Tucker and all these other forwards on the roster if we're just going to kill our two forwards and just cross our fingers they don't get hurt because they're playing 45 minutes.
mean, if you don't want him, I'll take some forward
But
depth over here on Denver.
I'm just,
I mean,
I'm just saying, it's like, oh, yeah, you need it. Y'all definitely need that shit. But y'all just need to get rid of Michael Porter Jr. and trade him for somebody who's just gonna actually play defense.
yeah, I especially with So you guys obviously lost. You guys lost to the Pacers. That's how they moved on from these conference finals to the finals. There, for us, the Denver. It was already 2 rounds ago. I'm surprised by that. It didn't feel like it wasn't that far ago that they were playing, but they beat Denver. Denver was the team I think probably gave them the hardest time so far in the playoffs so far. And I don't know. I personally
Definitely.
don't think the Pacers are going to give them as hard of a time as Denver did, but which makes me upset thinking that maybe we could have went on and beat them, but also the Wolves have kind of had our number recently, so I'm not going to overly expect that. But for me, watching that was my best time watching OKC and seeing how good they are because I didn't watch a ton of OKC Thunder games over the season, but obviously I watched
Me
all
neither.
7 games of them against Denver And you see, I kind of assumed there was a whole, they're young, they don't have a lot of experience, but they added in Caruso, who has a ton of experience there, and especially in the playoffs. He's won a championship in 2020, also being Denver on the way there. And they're one of those teams that just plays with insane defense. So I think the question I have for you for the Pacers, since you got to see them more so than I got to see the Thunder as well on my side with the Western Conference playoffs. Because so the Knicks' whole thing was, okay, we play defense. Yeah, we have a couple guys who are liabilities, but we overall that's the identity of the team is team defense, and that's kind of like what OKC comes into the game. Like I'm assuming they're a better defense than the Knicks, obviously, but with the team, the Pacers just going through a team that plays a ton of defense and has a high scoring guard as their lead player and having a center that can chip in, as well as some other pieces. Like these teams are kind of similar when you look at the structure of them between the Knicks and the Thunder. Do you think the Pacers are going to be able to hold them at all against OKC? And do you think they're not going to be able to outscore them the way they outscored the Knicks because the Knicks had at least a couple chinks in the armor with their defense there?
I mean, I feel like the biggest advantage that the Pacers have in this series, for the most part, would be their offensive speed and the way they like move the ball, their ball movement and things like that. And the way their offense is set up, it's not like how Jalen Brunson is like a heliocentric Luka Doncic type, and then you have a co-star, and then everybody else just takes open threes when they have them. Like they honestly spread the ball, spread the wealth so well that it could be anybody's night on any given night. So you never know. That's the thing about Indiana. That freaking game one, you got freaking what? Aaron Neesmith hit what 8 threes on us in the Garden, and then you got that Hallie bounce crap. Oh my god! After the first two games, bro, I honestly stopped watching because it was like we lost two home games. Like, and Kyle talked about we got a chance. I'm like, dude, we're cooked.
So I got the odds up here
So
for
it was just
the game
like,
tonight.
bro.
Just to kind of accent that, because we were talking about how the Knicks lost game one at home. This one's game one is at home in Oklahoma City. If the Pacers are gonna win this series for me, I do think it's gonna have to be they steal one of these first two games. Even I think stealing this first game, I think this would be their only real opportunity, because if they go down 2-0 and then even if they win their two home games, I just think that going 7 games with a team that's whole identity is beating you up, taking on defense, isn't going to be great for them. I do think the Pacers have firepower to match up with the Oklahoma City defense and having how much their offense is going to produce. My biggest concern is going to be with how SGA is going to be able to find Brunson and attack some of the weaker points of that defense. Well, just similar way to how
you mean Halliburton
or Halliburton, yeah, similar how Brunson attacked Halliburton on that defense, where you saw Brunson go off for a couple big games. SGA, he's been having slow starts to games, but he's ended up having some good stats. So it's not like he's been super out of his sync with scoring. So I do think that there's opportunities for OKC to score against the Pacers. There's also opportunities for the Pacers to run into more of a wall than they did against the Knicks, because OKC, while they have a great defense, it's also because they have so many good defenders throughout the lineup. It's not like you have a team where, like the Knicks, where their defense is good, but it's really anchored by their 3 players, that excluding like Cat and a little bit of Brunson, where they're not the best defenders. You have good defenders up and down the lineup, and even coming off the bench for OKC, where they had Alex Caruso fronting Nikola Jokic, and he was having trouble with it. And they were able to run a bunch of different exotic.
Yeah, that was phenomenal.
I would agree if they didn't, because I mean I thought that was great defense with how he fronted them. If they didn't turn around and then blow the whistle at the other end for OKC, and we don't talk about that. Because I thought it was good defense, good physical play. It obviously was working. And then they even breathed on SGA or some of the other OKC offensive players down low on their side, and it was 3 free throws. And even though I don't think they shot an exaggerated amount, it was just the dichotomy of you see Jokic get mugged on one side of the floor, and then you go down the other side, and then it would be like almost immediately after a really good defensive stand that the OKC would have this really kind of light call, especially for what we just saw on the other side of the floor. So I think the Pacers have a chance. I don't know how good of a chance it is, because they did just, like I said, they showed that they could beat a team that has good defense in the Knicks. They have players. chance in this. I'm talking about the series. I definitely think they have a chance in this game because I think the Pacers are going to be able to come out and
Can you
give the
can you put
OKC a
a
look.
percentage on it out of 100?
Uh, I think like this game specifically, game one in OKC, I'd give the Pacers like 35-40% chance of winning. Like it's always game one that's where you get the craziest difference. Like so I think they have a better chance of winning this game than games that come up further in the series when OKC has time to adjust and change how they're playing defense versus the Pacers once they've already played them in this series and how they're playing in the playoffs. Because like OKC has played the Pacers in the regular season, everyone plays everybody, but that's kind of different than what they've been playing in the playoffs, and they can watch the film of the other games. But depending on what adjustments OKC or the Pacers make for OKC, and what the OKC comes in thinking what they're going to what they think they're going to do. I think the Pacers, with how much scoring they have in their depth, balances out with how much defense they have in the depth on OKC. That I could see them making this game a bit higher scoring than games further down. And then as the series goes on, OKC is going to tighten up some screws, and then they're going to be able to make it a smaller and smaller game of scoring. So it's going to be less and less points. So if Indiana is going to take any game in OKC, game one is going to be the game that I think they could have the best opportunity to take. I don't think they're favored. I wouldn't take them. Maybe I would take the spread in this game because I do think that 10 points is kind of big, but I wouldn't be hammering that as like my go-to pick for that game. I don't know. What would your percentages be for this game specifically?
Specifically this game, I think just because of the OKC hasn't been in the finals in how long? And they're at home. Game one of the finals in that crowd is gonna be crazy, boy. I just don't anticipate. And, and like I know they got Halliburton and Siakam and Nemhard. They got some dudes on their team, but that crowd in OKC for a game one of the NBA Finals with the MVP on a team, I don't know, man. I just think it's a higher likelihood they would win game two. So game one, I'll probably give them 25. I'd probably give them closer to 35 for maybe game two, just because I feel like at that point they would have a chance to have that counter punch to their OKC's original punch. So, and OKC's not a great high volume 3-point team, so they can have a off night. Maybe the second night they have less energy. It's not back to backs anymore, but the second game they have fucking less energy, and it's just harder for them to focus, especially after if they get them big in game one, which I anticipate they might.
I mean, I could definitely see that, especially with how uh, OKC they looked good when the crowd was in it when they were playing Denver, especially in like the Western Conference, and even when the Western Conference Finals, the games I caught of that, it was a lot of okay, we have our crowd in it, and they've been waiting for this and waiting for this and waiting through the not the process specifically, but
Hmm.
like similarly, like how they've been waiting, like Philly fans were waiting for so long for teams to be good, and
Right.
you then have so you have the crowd element to it. I just think that the further games you get into it, the more the adjustments are going to benefit OKC as opposed to Indiana. Um, I do see it, and I do think like so having like Siakam coming off the series he's having Halliburton playing the way he was playing,
Hmm.
coming in there, they're already hot. OKC
Hmm.
has the rest. I could definitely see them getting up and getting. Obviously, it's going to be a good game. I just would say that if they're going to have their best chance to silence that crowd, especially after if OKC wins game one and they come to game two, I don't think that crowd's going to have any less energy than it did in game one because now they've already seen them win one game. If they win this game, they go up 2-0, and there's a whole lot of stuff riding on it. And on top of that, you already have a
Hmm.
game of adjustments to be made from OKC. So I think if I'm giving this game like 35-40, especially if OKC wins, I'm giving the next game like probably like best 20%. But
Okay,
I
so
don't
you're
think it's
flip.
going to be I don't think it's going to be like a sweep of series or anything. But I don't if they have to punch the Thunder in the mouth immediately if they're going to have any chance in it.
Yeah, but that's the thing about the Pacers, man. Like they're so hard to predict because some games Hallie had dropped 30 points, some games he have 14 assists and 17 points. So like some games you get a Andrew Nemhard to get you seven threes, or Aaron Nesmith to hit seven threes, or Siakam give you 30, 35, 39 points. So like the Pacers are just so they utilize all five players in the court. Everybody is a threat to score at any time. And they going crazy with the motorcycle.
I mean, that's fair, and I do think I agree that that's how the Thunder don't have isn't like they're lacking scoring chances. They do have they also have a ton of
Mhm.
scoring, and especially with they have a bunch of bodies on the interior where the Pacers have Siakam and Miles Turner, but I don't know if they have the depth to be able to keep up with the amount of interior depth that OKC has. So I can definitely see, like I said, it's that I believe in OKC Thunder being favored here. I think the series numbers here
Mm.
to win is Indiana's plus 500, OKC's minus 700. So, I mean, if you want to take a long shot bet with them winning the whole series, I guess you're not getting terrible odds. But yeah, I mean, everything's pointing to OKC being one of the more dominant teams and this not being a very close series, especially by the sports books. So the reason I have the sports book up
Yeah,
right
the
now is
only
I was
chance I
gonna
think Indiana has is to outscore.
yeah I think it's gonna have to be that they're gonna have to. But the reason I have the sports book up here is I thought we could do for game one, build a little parlay about what we think is going to happen specifically with the individual players. I don't know, did any of those game bets really speak to you at all between the 9.5 either way or the money line? I know obviously neither of us are predicting OKC to lose, so they're favored there, and we would probably agree with that on the money line. But do you think that if you had to pick, we're going to do two each, we'll go back and forth, but what do you think is the best bet for a single individual player statistics in this game?
Game one at home in OKC. Probably go with. I haven't done a lot of stat research lately. I'm going off a whim, just thinking about the last series. I know Alex Caruso played big minutes. I want to go like 2 steals for him or something.
Two steals for Caruso.
They might even have that on there.
Core 2+ steals. Alex Caruso minus 106. So I mean,
Oh
it's
shoot!
it's slightly favored. I'll give you that.
Right,
I
right.
think he was definitely getting a ton of them the last two series.
Literally, he was going crazy.
Yeah, he was wild with it. So I'm a little torn because I was just talking about with how Brunson popped off targeting Halliburton and how the Pacers don't have the best defense. I was looking at Shea's points in this game, thinking, okay, he's going to have the opportunity to come out game one in the finals, show up where he's been having some question marks about what his actual like how much he's carrying, if he actually deserved the MVP because he kind of is disappearing. We're not doing as much in the postseason as he has been in the regular season. So I was like, okay,
Mhm.
Shea for over on his points seems comfortable to me, especially with the matchup against Halliburton covering most of the game. But 33.5 is a lot. And I don't know. I guess I have to look over at the player points to not have to think that's like just like 30 plus minus 245.
Yeah.
I feel like that's better than minus 118 for 33.5. Like that extra 4 points is where I think you could get killed on that bet.
Mm.
I don't know, that's my logic at least. I don't know how you feel about that.
I'm more of a person who bets straight numbers other than just doing over unders.
Right.
As you know, for
So
like a 25, 30,
going
20 number.
going 30 plus for Shea, you think that's a safe bet here with his over underline being at 33.5. You're going a little bit under that with the 30 plus. Do you think that's a better bet
Yeah, I think
than
30 should be cool, probably.
all right? If that's your one Shea bet though, is that the one you would be taking?
Yeah.
All right. So if you were to pick a second one, we're gonna do a four legger here. If you were to pick a second one to go with, what are you thinking?
Okay, let me go Chet. How many what's just Chet blocks looking like?
All right, we'll go back to player defense. So blocks, Chet is at minus 900 for one, obviously. Minus 166 for 2 plus. and then you're into the positives when you get to record three
Sheesh.
plus.
Jeez. Get 2 blocks on these boys. Their defense is crazy wild. Hey, I'll take them for 2 blocks.
Two. So yeah, that was the favored number, not the underdog one.
Yeah,
So
you
let's
said
see.
three. Three was the underdog one.
Yeah, so two was
Three is
was
too
minus
much for
one
me.
sixty six. That's fair. I do. When the Knicks were playing them, did they have? Would you say like a above average amount of blocks for what they normally do when they played a team that wasn't
When the Knicks were
whether
playing
they
the
played,
Pacers?
yeah, like when they were playing the Pacers? Do you think that the rim protection was good enough that you're banking on Chet getting some blocks and there's some players, or at least there was a trend in that series where you could see blocks happening a lot more often?
I mean, I think you kind of said that wrong, but I just feel like Chet has led the playoffs in. I'm pretty sure he's led the playoffs in blocks, like 3 per game or 3.5, something like that. And I understand the Pacers don't have a lot of ball movement, but especially towards the end of that series, Siakam was operating in the post and in the low paint more, and just especially during freaking, oh my God, him and fast breaks were so crazy. He would just get the ball, throw it to him running, and just run straight to the rim. Like how somebody step in front of Siakam. That's what killed us, especially when we got back to Indiana. But I just feel like Chet Holmgren will have to utilize his length when he's going against. I know he got some Miles Turner's is kind of like a stretch five. I don't know if they're gonna put him on Siakam or Turner. I assume they're gonna put him on Turner. But freaking Miles Turner and Siakam, when they get into that point paint, and then when you got Neesmith and Nemhard driving into the paint, he's gonna have to utilize his size and create some blocks.
Yeah, so that was kind of what I was getting. It was like when you were watching, Pacers versus Knicks, with how they were getting the ball down low. Did you think that when the Knicks on defense? So we're talking about Chet playing defense against the Pacers. So the Knicks playing defense against the Pacers. Was there opportunities for them to
Mm.
get more blocks whether they did or didn't? Do you think there was that opportunity? And with Siakam playing in the post, I'm sure he'll get
Mm.
fronted by Hardenstein. You'll have Chet coming off the weak side. I think that's a stronger bet, is what I'm trying to say. And I'm trying to figure out if that was kind of a trend you would see with how the Pacers operated when they weren't on the outside of the arc. Now I'm
I hear you.
I'm
I
debating
mean, I
here.
feel like the
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I just feel like the Knicks were. I'll make it quick. I just feel like our biggest downfall was probably us missing shots and us not stepping in front of guys. For us, them playing the Pacers from a their offensive standpoint, like from check getting blocks, I just feel like the Pacers would have to have a whole different game plan than how they had against the Knicks, because I feel like the Pacers pace is so good. We had to worry about outscoring them, so our defense was lacking a lot.
I
And
see.
against Boston, our defense wasn't that spectacular anyway. They missed a historic amount of threes. So
So for my next bet, I'm going to put on here for our last leg of this parlay. I'm looking at threes made, and I'm going back to that Denver series against OKC, and their specific defensive philosophy was leaving certain players open that they didn't trust to hit threes consistently. Like they wanted to double and put their focus on players in the offense that were driving, like Halliburton, like not Halliburton, like Shea, like Chet, J Dub specifically, and they forced J Dub in having some bad games. But so they were allowing guys to take open shots. So I'm looking at players that are on the Thunder, thinking maybe the Pacers will go with a similar route where they're going to live letting some of these other lesser shooters shoot the three ball a lot more and focus on protecting the rim from Shea getting to the mid range, and then having bodies in the middle for when those two bigs get in there and try to push that. So I'm looking at Lou Dort at minus 184 for two threes made. I know he didn't have a great series against Denver. He bounced back a little bit against the Wolves. He's one of those guys that they're going to leave open on the three, regardless of how many he makes, because he's not a very consistent 3-point maker. As well, Caruso is a plus
I wouldn't say
in threes made.
regardless. I'll say they were probably this is probably a higher likelihood of them leaving Caruso open than them leaving Dort open. But they play the same position. They don't play at the same time most of the time. But I'm just saying, if they were on the court for at the same time and you had to guard one of them, I think you'd rather guard Caruso. I mean, you'd rather guard Dort, sorry, and leave Caruso open just because
Yeah, I agree, and I
historically
think
Dort's a little better.
with what the Caruso was against Denver, Caruso was the one who was hitting the threes. So like, they were leaving Dort open, they were leaving Caruso open, and Caruso was the one that was making them kind of suffer because of that. Because especially in transition, they would be leaving Caruso open and not allowing Easy go to the basket, and he was the one who sank it and really kind of flipped that series for them. I don't remember how many times I was watching the game and thinking, okay, we can get some traction back, and then there's a Caruso three for like 4 out of the next 6 possessions, or it felt like it anyway. And you're like, okay, well, why are we just leaving him open to shoot? And then he'd brick for like the other 2 quarters. I'm like, okay, that's why. So I do agree with that. I wonder, is it going to can we do a Caruso, 2 Carusos in a parlay? All right, yeah, we could. And so Caruso with 2+3s is an underdog line, so that'd be our longest shot there. I still think it's a good way to go because I do think Caruso, he's going to get the opportunities to shoot it. It's going to be whether or not can he sink it.
Right, literally. Because they're, like I said, they're going to leave them open. So,
yes. So looking at this parlay, right, and knowing what we know about the series and how we feel how the series is going to go, is there anything we want to tweak or change, either with your bets you've put in already or anything that I've put in there? What are you thinking about it? I know you're a big sports parlay guy.
two Carusos. It's just 2 Carusos. I don't like putting the same player in there twice just because they get injured. Like, what if he get the steals, he hit a 3 and he get hurt? Like, damn. That's just
That's
a
fair.
personal thing because that has happened to me way too many times. So it just the fact that you had the same guy on there for 2 different props twice, and it's only a 4-leg parlay. But other than that, I really don't care.
Let me just
Not
pull
don't
up
care, but I think it
Caruso's.
actually is good. Other than the 2.
Well, we can always adjust Caruso. So let me just read you off Caruso's stat line from May 9th. So this is 5 Nuggets games in all 5 Timberwolves games. He was 2 of 9 from he was 2 of 5 from 3, 2 of 5 from 3, 3 of 6, 2 of 5, 1 of 3, 3 of 3, 1 of 3, 1 of 3, 2 of 5, 0 of 3. So he obviously was making less shots against the Timberwolves from 3 specifically. They just weren't falling as much for him. He was still taking around 3 per game. He was taking more so when he was playing Denver. Like he averaged 5 a game in the Denver series, and then against the Timberwolves, he was only getting 3 a game, with 1 game of him getting 5. And so the volume went down against the Timberwolves. I'm sure that's why he's an underdog here specifically. But I agree. I think having the same guy in the parlay twice, I wasn't really super comfortable with it. But with how you were talking about between Caruso and Dort, that's where I was leaning towards going. I don't know. How do you feel about taking 3s in a parlay specifically for games like this?
I feel like the first game is usually the best, like for 3s, depending on the team. Like I said earlier, the Thunder are a not a overall team good, great 3-point shooting team. I think the Pacers are a little better, but they get most of their points from transition and stealing the ball and just beating motherfuckers up. So
Right. So
if
if you were gonna pick a
anybody
team
on
between the two,
OKC,
if you were gonna pick a team on the two
you
between the
said
two
what?
to if you were gonna pick a team between the two to make some 3s in this game, are you leaning more towards like going towards a player that's on the Pacers than OKC? Because like you said, OKC thrives with going inside, and then that's why I was thinking about maybe an OKC player because they're gonna leave some of the guys open on the arc and they're gonna kick it out to them like they did in the Denver series. But as well, the Pacers are just a better 3-point shooting team. So if you're looking for a player on one or the other team, which team are you siding for 3s in this game or in this game?
It would have to, if anybody, it would have to be, in my opinion, probably either Halliburton or Turner. I think those are because they're gonna have who they're gonna have. They're gonna put Hartenstein on Turner, you think, or they're gonna put Chet on Turner.
I'm thinking it's going to be Chet and having Hardenstein on Siakam.
I think whoever Hartenstein checking might shoot some 3, just because he's a slightly slower footed guy. slightly. They're not like he's a super slow foot or nothing, but because he can also defend at a pretty good level. But I don't know.
Yeah, the reason I
Yeah,
say that is because I think Hartenstein on Siakam. Siakam's more of that post player. He's going to want to get down low, whereas Miles Turner, who's developed kind of this jumper in his game, and
right.
he's always been known as more of a 3-point shooting guy. You're going to want the more athletic Chet being out in space with
Hmm.
him more so than you're going to want Hartenstein on Turner. Whereas Siakam, I'm not saying
Yeah.
he's unathletic, but he's definitely more slow footed than Turner is, at least at this point in his career. So I feel like that'd be their matchup they go towards, and then yeah,
Hmm.
maybe they'll rotate it. Maybe they'll throw like they always rotate their guys. They have a ton of length with all their players. So like Luke Dort, I wouldn't be surprised to check Siakam every so often with Hardenstein off the floor. So there could be opportunities for either of those guys to match up with some good matchups, but that's where I think the matchups would go.
And they got Thomas Bryant off the bench.
Yeah. So Miles Turner for 2+3s, I think that's a better bet than going with the double Caruso dip.
I believe so, personally.
All right, so that would be our parlay here with Caruso 2+ steals, SGA with 30+ points, Chet with 2+ blocks, and Miles Turner with 2+ made threes. I like that better. Obviously, Miles Turner is going to be the catalyst. I think the rest of the stuff is pretty safe. Um, Turner just needs to continue to hit his threes, and he's going to have opportunities, like you said. They run two bigs a ton. So Turner's going to have opportunities out on the 3-point line to make shots because they're going to want to clog the lane. It's just going to be depending on whether or not he takes it. He's averaging 3 attempts a game. He hasn't really been making them in the past few games, especially against the Knicks. He was missing a ton of them. He was 1 for 4, 1 for 4, 1 for 6, 1 for 3, 1 for 2, and then 2 for 3. Again, I think that's maybe why I would have thought he would have been more favored to make 2 threes based on how I perceive him as a player from the 3. But I think the fact that he had such a rough series last
Hmm.
series is dropping his number to being more of leaning towards underdog status. So I do think that makes it a better bet.
Right. I
Uh,
agree. I think he's due. Kind of due.
so well, let's throw out some final thoughts here because we kind of went through, talked about how we felt about both teams, how we felt about the matchup. We went through, picked out some individual players we thought were going to have games, or specifically would be like a good parlay to go with. So you're projecting OKC in this game, correct?
In this game and in this series, yes.
All right. I mean, I agree with the series. I'll be just to be contrarian because I'm actually a little more on the side of this than uh, you would be. I will pick the Pacers for tonight specifically. I think OKC will win the series, but I'll go with the Pacers winning tonight. Kind of a stunning upset. I can envision the the headlines now and people hopping on shows talking about how the Pacers stole Game 1 and if that swings the series at all. Um, I do think OKC would win, but it would
So can I
also
ask you
be
a
if so.
question?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
So if you're saying you're being a genie right now and saying you can foresee a situation in which we wake up tomorrow and the Pacers won. If you had to like say you woke up and you're imagining looking at a Pacers stat line, what would it look like? Like Hallie 25 and 12, like and Nemhard 22 and 8 assists. Like what does that stat line look like where they beat OKC and however many points. And that too, how many points? Like, is it like a close win, like a the New York game when they hit a buzzer beater, like, oh, they won, they stole it, or is it like they
I
beat them by
think
7, like, oh shoot.
I think it's one of those ones where it'll be close, and then in the last few minutes, it's going to come down to who makes their shots at the end of the game specifically. And I think I trust the Pacers make outside shots more than OKC, obviously. And I
Mhm.
think it'd be one of those ones where the Pacers get 5-6 point lead with like a minute left, and then the Thunder just can't convert on some stuff. And so like it's not a last minute buzzer beater, but it was up until like the last minute of the game where OKC was realistically in it. They're fouling, trying to get the ball back and scoring. Well, not specifically a buzzer beater, but I do think the stat lines I would see for that to happen. I think Halliburton definitely has to have like 12+ assists because they're going to be keying on him defensively. And what's going to happen is they're going to throw a ton of stuff at him, and it's going to be the Jokic effect, where they want to throw stuff at him and force him to make the best pass possible, and then they're going to try to play his best defense possible on his outlet passes because they know how good of a passer he is. So I do think Hallie's going to have to drop points as well. Let me flip it. I think Hallie's going to have less than 10 assists. He's not going to have that many assists. He's going to have to score to win. I think he could pop off. So I could see like a 25 to 30 piece from Hallie with less than 10 assists in a win for the Pacers tonight because they're going to be keying on him as a passer more so as a scorer. You also need to see some good 3-point numbers like Miles Turner, like we said in our predictions, is going to need to have 2 or more threes hit. You're going to need some big threes off the bench, especially from like Nimhard, who's in the starting lineup now. He's going to have to hit some threes. That was another thing that really swayed a lot of those games against the Knicks was they had 3-point shooting outside of Halliburton as their main offensive engine there. So I think there's going to be lower assists for Halliburton, higher points, and then it's going to rely a lot on the 3-point shooting from the other players because it's going to be they're going to allow them to take those shots. It's going to be, and if they can make them pay for that and try to outscore the Thunder, that'll be the way they win it. So I could see this being a higher scoring game than any of the other games in the series, and specifically the 3-point shooting and Halliburton's points being what sways them.
Yeah, I hear you. I think if they have any chance of winning this series at all, Tyrese Halliburton is going to have to take that leap from being a 25. I think in this playoffs, he's probably like 25-10, 25-12. He's going to have to be like a 30, consistent 30 guy. They want to pull this one off against a historic defense. He's going to have to score more than fucking Steve Nash type.
Yeah, I think specifically because like you saw in the Denver series, they keyed on Jokic as a passer and they fronted him, made sure he couldn't pass out of the post. And then in the Wolves series, they attacked Anthony Edwards, make sure he couldn't score because they wanted to force him to do the thing that they don't think he can do. So it's going to come down to their star player doing the accessory part of his game as opposed to what he does best, which is passing for Halliburton, and then instead of scoring, which he's going to have to take a bigger step with scoring.
Yeah. And now thinking about it, he probably was not even averaging 25 points because he's had a couple duds. He's had a couple sixes, couple nines. So he's probably not even, he's probably at 20 something, but probably not 25.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was a good conversation to have. I will definitely have some more stuff to talk about post game one. We'll be able to react to game one and then predict game two following that. So I do think this was a good little thing. I'm going to put money on that parlay we had. So I'll have some vetting interest in this game. I'll watch it, and you'll know I'll be texting your ass if that stuff hits. Especially the Shea 30 and the Miles Turner 2s. I think if Shea does go for 30 plus, it's probably not likely that the Pacers win because, like I said, it's going to have to be high scoring. And if Shea's giving you 30, and then you also have J-Dub and everyone else, if they're going off for their normal averages, I don't think because they're also a great offense. We talked about the defense the whole time today. They're also a phenomenal offense. So we'll see what happens.
I didn't hear what you said in that last part, but I know you said something about their offense. Shea is literally like Kobe Bryant. I saw something on Facebook not too long ago, and he's just so silky smooth, dude. Like he rises up and he's unafraid no matter where he is. Like any spot is his spot. Any spot above the arc, that's his spot. I can hit it from one step above. I can hit it from 12 feet, 15 feet. It don't matter. It just rise up. As long as I get it come off my hand, I'm confident that shit going in. He's confident that shit going in. That's all that matters.
Yeah. I was just saying, like, we're talking about their defense the whole time here and how it's going to have to be the Pacers outscoring them and beating that defense. But OKC also had one of the best offenses in the league last year, too, this past season. So it's not like, if the Pacers can make sure they can score, they'll be fine. No, because OKC can also score. So that's why I do think they'll win the series. But for this game specifically, I do think that the Pacers have the best chance. If this is going to be a home game they win, I think the game one is going to be the one they can steal the easiest.
It'll be interesting to see for sure. I'm excited, man. Also sad because the NBA season is almost over. And football doesn't start until September.
It's disappointing, but I mean, you got spring football still.
What the hell is that? What the hell is even that?
I don't even watch that shit. So I
I was about to
tried,
say,
but
do you even still keep up with the goddamn XFL, whatever it's called, USFL, whatever the hell they call it nowadays?
0 for 2 UFL.
UFL. I was wrong on both of them. Wow, that's unfortunate.
But all right, I think we went a good time here. So that was our predictions for game one, whether it was parlay predictions for individual players as well as the teams themselves. I have the Pacers, you have the Thunder. For me and Toby over at again Take the Charge YouTube channel. This is going to be going up on the Weekly Huddle. It's live right now there. It's going to go up afterwards as a video on Take the Charge. So go ahead over there and check it out if you are watching this on the Weekly Huddle right now. So without further ado, for both me and Toby, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys hopefully before game two.